Hello, everyone. Guess what? Today, on the Level 1 podcast, it's all about Elden Ring. Because yesterday, I played the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC all day long, around 5.5 hours of gameplay. I have some good things to say. I have some criticisms. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it. And also, we're going to discuss my strategy moving forward. Because what I'm doing right now isn't really working. I don't really feel like smashing my head against a brick wall. In addition, we're going to chill, we're going to take some Q&A, and we will see what happens. So, welcome to the show. It's time to begin. Alrighty, good morning everyone, and welcome to the show. Today is Saturday, the 22nd of June, 2024. I'm DSP, and I'm surrounded by all of my previous avatars from every From Software adventure that I've taken so far. Pretty cool to see them all lined up this way, no? And, I mean, if that doesn't show that I'm a fan of FromSoft, with the amount of runs that I've done in all the games, I don't know what does. I think the only one that's not here is Sekiro. I think in Sekiro, you're just the character, right? You can't make a custom character. But this is everything. This is Dark Souls 1 through 3, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring. Indeed. So, we have a lot to talk about today. After 5.5 hours of Elden Ring yesterday and checking out this DLC, there's definitely some good stuff to talk about. There's also some stuff that I feel they really did kind of fail on. So I'm going to give, a fair, balanced opinion so far on what I've seen in the first 5.5 hours. Some people are unwilling to accept criticism when it comes to this franchise or this game developer. They just think that everything that FromSoft does is absolutely perfect, and God forbid that you ever speak up against it, right? Well, for me, I'll be honest, I do think there's room for improvement, but at the same time, I do feel like there are ways around, what problems I'm having. So we're going to talk about that today. All right? Cool. Outside of that, there's really not that much going on. I checked on like game news and the like, and nothing really happening. So the primary focus of today will definitely be that we're going to talk all about this DLC and my strategy moving forward. And then if we have time at the end, if we want to open it up to Q&A or whatever. Okay? Cool. So before we get started, just to reiterate, I just want to let you know what the schedule is for the rest of the week. Just a quick review before we start talking about Shadow of the Erdtree. So today, it's more Elden Ring DLC for the first stream. 3+ hours. We'll see how we do. Hopefully we do better than yesterday, or at least better than last night. Tonight on the late stream, in order to recuperate and unwind from all this Elden Ring, it will be Stardew Valley at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'm excited for that. The game is great. The game is fun and chill, and we get a lot of interaction and good engagement when I play. So I am very excited to play that tonight and kind of, relax, which is what I need after a day and a half of Elden Ring, right? Sunday is still React Day. That hasn't changed at all. So we're going to have our usual DSP versus the Internet clip show on DSP Reacts and the day stream, and it's going to be the conclusion of my retro reaction to Rise of Nightmares on the late stream on DSP Throwback, and then, because it's only going to be about an hour, we're going to swap over, and we're going to continue with my reacting to my original Dark Souls run from 2011. Very pertinent for us to be doing that, being that it's Elden Ring right now, right? So perfect timing to be reacting to Dark Souls. Quick reminder, if you are a member over on the DSP Reacts channel, all right, you must submit your clips for tomorrow's React show by the end of today's streams. Because once I finish that late stream tonight of Stardew Valley, that's when I sit down, I look at the submissions, I make the playlist, I set it all up, and I get it ready for Sunday. So if it ain't posted by then, it ain't getting on the show. And sadly, I hate to say it, that happened last week. There was, I think, one person in particular. They tried to get their submission up way late. Only like overnight, maybe a couple hours before the stream. It was too late. So please be careful with that and be sure to get your clips up at appropriate time. Okay? Monday, we go back to Elden Ring DLC, and Monday night will be the return of Street Fighter 6. It'll be another stream of Zangief online, and quite frankly, I'll probably just jump right to ranked after. Maybe I'll do like 1 or 2 quick warm-up matches in casual just to get back into it and then go right to ranked. And then Tuesday, more Elden Ring DLC, the final day this week that I'm doing it. And then Tuesday night will be more Stardew Valley. And then this Wednesday, it is time for M. Bison to be released in Street Fighter 6, which I'm very excited for. Hopefully he's good. I don't know. I actually have not really watched any gameplay besides his announcement trailer. I haven't seen anything else. So I'm going in cold, and we'll see what I think about him. I'm going to play with him all day long. So M. Bison returns to Street Fighter this coming Wednesday. All right? Next week will be more of a balance between Elden Ring and maybe a couple other things on the day streams. It'll be mostly Elden Ring, but we'll probably try to stick something in there for variety to break it up a little bit. Whether that be Fallout 4, whether that be like a day stream of Street Fighter 6 remains to be seen. But there will still be Stardew Valley and other stuff in the mix as well. So it should be a good combination and a good balance. Okay? Cool. All right, that's the schedule. So, as I said, the meat of today's show is all about Elden Ring, so let's get right into it. Okay? The good, the bad, and the ugly about this DLC. The good. First thing, immediate improvement. They patched the game so that any new items that you pick up go into its own sorted menu, and they get highlighted in the standard menus so you can find them right away. What took FromSoft literally like 15 years to put this into their games? I have no idea. This is a standard quality of life improvement that does not make the game easier. It just simply makes it so you don't waste time sifting through your inventory half the time. It should have been in there 10 years ago. They really just, it gets to me that that's something that everyone else would have put in, but FromSoft gets a pass not putting it in until now. I'm happy it's in there, though, because thank God now you can immediately see all your new items and figure out what they are and everything, and it's very good in that regard. So, thankfully, kudos to them for putting it in. Don't know what took so long, but I'm just happy to have it, okay? Immediately when you head into the Shadows of the Erdtree DLC, you're right into the open world, and the first thing you're going to notice is that it looks familiar. You know, they said when they were describing this DLC that essentially it would be the size of Liurnia and the plateau to the south and some of Caelid. And I don't think they're lying. However, I will say this. It does seem like there's a lot of alternate paths and elevations, meaning like you might have a high up area here, then a ground level area here, so they're kind of stacked. Remember how in the bottom left-hand corner of the map of Standard Elden Ring, in the, I said Liurnia, I meant to say Limgrave, by the way. It was Liurnia in Elden Ring, in a regular Elden Ring, where you had that big plateau with all the magic and dragons and everything, and you couldn't even get to that till later in the game when it was a secret area. That's kind of how I see this DLC. Like, it's a lot of stuff that's stacked on top of itself, so it looks small but is deceptive. It looks like there's going to be a lot more content than that. That's a good thing, obviously. However, the moment you go out into the open world and you start looking around, you're like, so what do I see? So I see some trees, okay? I see a whole bunch of tombstones, but as you start to ride through, you realize they're not tombstones. They're not even there. They're just ghost projections of tombstones, and there's thousands of them everywhere. And there's a bunch of sheep. Yeah. And so as you start riding around, you're like, well, this looked really dense and populated at first, but as you start to realize, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's just a bunch of tombstones and a bunch of sheep. Even most of the area, like all the enemies in there, are just little pushover shadow men. They don't really do anything. There's these birds that are basically vultures. They're pushovers too. They're not a big deal, you know? So this whole giant first area that you ride into is essentially empty. And that's pretty sad. So you would think the first thing you want to do is impress, and it visually looks great, and then when you start to actually look at the substance, you're like, it's pretty empty. There is one of the giant Wicker Man furnace enemies in the area. Not really a boss. more of a puzzle, and it is a little challenging to figure out, but once you figure it out, it's pretty easy to take down. I actually went right to it and took it out right away. And so after that, you start to ride around and explore, right? And I did. I found some optional areas. I started to find some enemy camps, took out the enemies, found some optional upgrade items, the new upgrade system, which is based on two things. There's the Sudoku tree fragments. I don't even know what it's called. Sudafed tree. I think it's supposed to sound like Shadow tree, but it's like Sudan tree or something like that. Once you get a bunch of these fragments, you artificially increase your damage output and your damage resistance. So you need to get these. They're very important to the game. And then there's other fragments that increase your summons, strength, and damage output, and also your horse. I don't use summons. So for me, the summon ones are pretty useless. The horse getting more health isn't a big deal. So probably that's not so very effective. But as for the other ones, they seem pretty important to this DLC. So anyway, you know, I explored for a while. I probably explored for around 2 to 2.5 hours. I'll say 2 hours. This first stream that I did yesterday. And I found various things. I found a few optional bosses, which were fun. Challenging, because they hit like tanks. But at the same time, you know, they were fair. I feel, keep in mind, I'm still using my magic build from my second run of Elden Ring. And it's a little versatile because I could use projectiles, but also I could charge up my magic sword. So I have 2 different ways to attack, either with ranged or with up-close melee. And I found my way through a couple optional bosses. Logan, who's a guy who teleports in, and he's just an NPC with claws, and he's really tough to fight. When you beat him, you get his claws. Kind of unique, kind of reminds me of, like I said, Wolverine or Black Panther fighting style. And then I found a mausoleum, and in there was a black jail knight who had a ginormous sword and also used an insane crossbow that's like rapid-fire crossbow. So fought him, took a little bit, but got him, and ended up getting the whatchamacallit, the sword, the giant sword. I can't remember what it was called, but it's a huge, like, bastard sword. And continued on and kept going through exploration areas, found the optional town. Not much there. There's like a talisman or something that I'm probably never going to use. And then finally, in the final hour of my first stream, I got to the first legacy dungeon, which is the isn't it like, is it Bellroot? I think it's Bellroot, or it could be Belarus. I think it's Belarus. The Belarus Tower. All right. As soon as I got to the Belarus Tower, I had a lot of fun because it's a legacy dungeon. It's designed like Dark Souls, which is what I like. You know, all the encounters are scripted. Fun little stuff, challenges here or there, little tricks, secret areas. You know, had a great time with it. The one complaint I have about the dungeon, in a hidden area, there's a freaking ulcerated tree spirit. And I was like, seriously? Again, they're reusing this damn enemy? They used it like 700 times in the original game, and they had to reuse it in this DLC? Like, that's ridiculous. They're still using this damn same enemy again. So, after doing that, finally got to the boss. But then I ran out of time. Okay? So on my second stream, I took on the first real major boss of the DLC, a dancing lion. All right? Definitely looks like, you know, Chinese culture. They have festivals with lions, and you know, people get into this suit, this outfit of a costume. It's like a bunch of guys dancing around together to do this, like almost like looks like a worm or something moving around. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Jump into the lion boss fight. To be honest, the lion seems fun. Like, once you start to learn its attack patterns and everything, it seems like it's going to be an interesting boss. It lunges at you quite a bit. Sometimes it lunges and is open. Sometimes it lunges and has like 2 to 3 follow-up attacks. It's got various spitting attacks. And then once you get to its second phase, all of a sudden it starts chucking lightning bolts like Dick Lightning from Dark Souls 2. And I was like, all right, that's pretty darn cool. All right? But there's one problem with this boss. He kills me with 1 to 2 hits. Like, there was sometimes he insta-killed me, and there's other times he hit me once, but because of the nature of the boss, sometimes it's like a double attack, and I would just die. And I'm like, how am I going to learn his patterns when I die instantly every time I get touched, right? Like, I'm dealing damage to this boss. It's not like, oh, I'm not doing any damage to the guy, but if I have to hit him 70 times to kill him, and he hits me once and I instantly die, obviously this is going to take a long time. And I fought him for like maybe a half an hour, and I was like, you know, It's fun, first encounter. At this point, I feel like there's something lacking. Either I need way more health, or I need to go out and find those upgrade items to get, because at this point, I'd only had like 2 of the upgrade, the Sudafed tree upgrades or whatever they're called. I only had like 2. So I was maybe slightly more strong and slightly more damage resistant, but not much. So this thing was pounding me hard. You know, as soon as I got hit, it was like squished like a bug. I'm like, well, it's either got to be I have to go get more health, or I have to get a bunch of these upgrades. Okay? So basically, I got to the point, I'm like, well, I could literally keep fighting this boss all night. I might beat him, but I don't know how fun that's going to be for me or the audience. Do you really want to see me keep bashing my head against the wall the entire night stream? I didn't want to do that. So I said, all right, instead, there's tons of content to go out and explore. Let's do that instead. So I jumped on my horse and went back out to the open world, and we started riding around. We actually rode to the northwestern part of the map. And there we encountered a few different things, nothing too crazy or anything. We did find an optional dungeon. It was actually called, I think it was the Belarus jail. Now, I don't know if this was supposed to be just one of those dungeons that is kind of the random one that's not very special, or if it was a handcrafted dungeon. And for me, I treated it like it was a legacy dungeon, and it was kind of neat. It was all about pot men. You know, the pots that you are from Elden Ring, the standard version, and you're got to platform on them. You got to fight them. There's some new enemies in there as well. It was pretty fun. The boss was a little challenging because he was kind of like super speedy swordsman. But I got it done with relatively no real problems or anything like that. And I ended up getting a bunch of new armor. Like I got a pot helmet that I put on. It looks so stupid, but it's hilarious, so I put it on. So then after beating that, we continued on and started going to the northeast of the map where you could go. I get to a lake. And in a lake, it looked like there's a pile of wood. And I'm like, I guarantee you that pile of wood is a boss. There's no way that that's just a pile of wood. Something's going to happen. I ride towards it. It gets up. It's a dragon. It's a new dragon. It's exactly the same dragon fight that you did a bunch of times in standard Elden Ring. The difference is it uses one new fire attack that's a little bit different and harder to dodge. And apparently the dragon is incredibly resistant to magic. Because the thing is, the dragon isn't kicking my ass. I know the dragon fight. I've killed a zillion of these things before, but I'm just smashing this thing with my sword. I'm wailing on it with magic. It's doing almost nothing. I blasted it full blast with the Comet Azure spell, and its health went like this. I'm like, what? So nothing hurts this damn thing. So I fought it like 2-3 times. I'm like, the problem is not the fight. The problem is I can't hurt it. It's so annoying. So I guess I'm going to have to come back to this one too. Unless I want to sit here for an hour trying to beat this dragon, which isn't fun. You know, I guess I'll come back later when maybe I get more upgrades or whatever, right? So I left the dragon behind, and we continued to explore. We ended up going northeast across the bridge. There's a big enemy camp there, full of annoying little troops. Fought them. Got a couple upgrades. So basically, by the end of the night, I'd maybe upgraded with the Sudafed tree like 4 times, maybe 3. It was either 3 or 4. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to confirm that today when I boot up because I can't remember. It was at least 3, I want to say. The last thing that I did on my first day of Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, was I found another optional dungeon. This one was one of those very repetitive redone dungeons from the base game. Why they chose to put that into a paid DLC, I have no clue. It was called the Fog something Catacombs. I can't remember the middle name. I actually put it in the title of the video. Hold on. Fog Rift Catacombs, okay? And when I got to the Fog Rift Catacombs, I went inside and I was like, you know, normally I would have just skipped this, but being that this is a new DLC, I should at least give one a shot. Plus, maybe there'll be a good item in here that I want. It's horrible. The catacomb is absolutely terrible. Everything looks exactly the same, so you're running in circles, not knowing where to go. It's tricky. They try to fool you. There's instant death traps. Well, not really instant death traps, but there's smashing down ceilings. Enemies that come out of nowhere and hit you for insane damage. Really, really stupid. I just hate those catacombs. I did in the base game, too. Like, never really liked those catacombs. I got to the boss. The boss seems pretty cool. It's called the Dragon Knight. And that's the fight we're in the midst of doing right now. I basically got him down to halfway of his health, and then he has a special attack where he grabs and, like, insta-kills you. So I got to just adapt to that. I'll definitely beat him today. It's not going to be a big deal. Just got to learn. I had almost no time to try it last night. I tried it like 5-10 minutes tops. So today, we'll dedicate time. It's the first thing we're doing on stream today. We're dedicating time to fight this boss. I'm hoping he drops a really good item. Like, if he has these dual axes. If he drops the dual axes, I may have found a weapon that I'm interested in, because after playing 5.5 hours yesterday, okay? I mean, let's recap. I found a giant mace that's basically all strength. I found that giant sword from the Black Jail Knight that looks like it does like a shockwave attack and then a counter follow-up like spin slash. But it's just a big bastard sword. I don't know if I really want that. I kind of did that kind of build in the base game when I played it. I got the claws. The claws were great. Look interesting. I tried them on, and you move fast and everything. The problem with the claws is I feel like the claws will be really good against individual enemies and will absolutely suck against bosses. I really feel that way. Like the claws, you're just going to try to do that combo, and you're just going to get completely smashed when you're trying to do the combos. And so you're not going to get the bleed, because there's a bleed effect on them, and you're just never going to get it. In which case, I don't think it's going to be very good. Maybe I'm wrong, okay? I got a bunch of like other things I'll never use. Like there was a severed arm of an enemy that you can use as like a catalyst and also a weapon. It's shitty. I'm never gonna use that. So I'm trying to think. Out of all the weapons I found yesterday, I probably found like maybe 10 weapons. Oh, I found a thing that turns your hand into a nub with like a spear. So basically you're fighting with like a stabby lance on your arm. But I don't think that's gonna be very good either, honestly. So, out of all the weapons I found, maybe I would use that sword. I think people should be calling it the solitary sword. Maybe I would use that. But it's kind of like just a big sword that I never really wanted to use again. I've already done it before. So I was looking for something unique. The only really unique thing so far I really noticed is the claws. I did find these 2 dual knives as well. When you dual wield this one knife, I think it's called the backhand blade, you turn into 2 backhanded knives. Looks neat, but again, it looks like to really get it going, you have to get into several hits. And it makes me nervous that when you're fighting a boss and you get that opening, you only get to hit it 2-3 times. You can't finish the combo, in which case you never get to the damage output you're supposed to get. Again, I don't know how effective it would be against bosses. So anyway, once I beat, and by the way, no one spoil, all right? But once I beat the Dragon Knight today, I am hoping that he drops something good. I'm really hoping for his axe or axes. Like, that would be nice, because maybe I would want to use that. Something new, because I haven't used an axe or anything yet. So that would be kind of neat to use those, but I don't know if he drops them or not as his reward. So we're going to find out. Now, I just described day 1 in the DLC fully for you, about 20 minutes, right? So what do I like and what do I not like? Well, what did I enjoy the most? Anytime I was in a legacy-style dungeon. So the entire tower, Belarus Tower or whatever it's called, and the Belarus jail, I loved both dungeons. They were fun, they were tricky, they were interesting. I love that you have to like a little bit of puzzle solving and or exploration to find everything. I like they have the enemies that jump out at you. Anything that's like that the hand curated feel, which is what FromSoft is good at. That's what they're known for. I absolutely loved it. Okay, so very, very good there. I'll be honest. I think the bosses are fine. Like even the dancing lion boss that I can't beat yet. I don't dislike the boss. I'm not raging at it. Just like, oh, I got hit again. Well, I got to start all the way over again because I die instantly. So I got to find a way around that. Not to die after one hit on this boss, right? So, but as for the boss itself, it seems cool. I like its design. So I think the bosses are good. And I think that the dungeons are good. Okay? Oh, and I'll say this. The graphics as well are pretty good. Absolutely. All right? But in regards to the open world, at least in the first area, because remember, this will have more than one area, this map. Right now, we're just in the main central area. I think, what is it called? Is it like the ghost grave area? I think that's what it's called, the ghost grave area. I don't like it at all. It reminds me so much of Limgrave. In fact, again, if you want my honest opinion, if you remove the ghost graves, and if you remove the sheep, if you just had it be an open area without those filler things, it would look completely empty, and you would realize it's just like Limgrave. Like, they didn't even try to change it. It looks just like Limgrave. It's not interesting. It's pretty fucking boring. And this is the area you got to spend hours in at the beginning of the DLC They should have thrown you into something different right away. That way you feel like you're truly immersed in something new rather than the base game. It literally feels like, well, here we go again. Time to go right to the same shit that we were doing for an insane amount of time in the base game. Just right back to it again. No innovation. That's frustrating. Okay? I wish the starting area were more interesting. I have seen other areas around. And if you look to the left, you can see this area where it's like blue and red ground and some islands off in the distance that look interesting. And if you look to the north, you see giant castle and everything. You're like, so there is good stuff coming. It's just not in that base open world area, and that's frustrating because that's what you got to deal with first, right? Already, I will tell you, we're 5.5 hours in, and already we're getting reuse of enemies. That's frustrating as well. We waited 2 years for this DLC. They're charging us $40 for it. It's not like this is a few buck add-on and they're reusing assets. They're charging you a hefty price for this DLC. You would expect to get mostly new stuff. There is new stuff, but the problem is it's already being reused. Like, I went to the first dungeon, got to the boss, left, started exploring the open world, and I'm like, oh man, the enemies that were in the dungeon are out in the open world too? But why? It used to be there were dungeon-specific enemies or something. Now they're being used in the open world right away, right after the dungeon. That's kind of stupid. Why are there bug people in the dungeon, but also in this whole town? I don't like that. Save it just for the dungeon or whatever, right? Stop reusing it over and over. The fact that they had the goddamn ulcerated tree spirit in the first dungeon was like, are you kidding me? That's the most overused boss in the game, and you used it again? I almost feel like it was a joke. Like, haha, you thought we would not use it for the DLC? Take this, sucker. Now you got to fight it again. I really feel like they were doing that on purpose to razz you. Because I can't imagine someone said, oh, here's a good idea. Just copy-paste the same fucking guy that's over here 700 times and just drop him here just for fun, right? Anyway, so that's some of the stuff I don't like. But ultimately, the thing I'll dislike the most, this new system of having to look around the world to find these Sudafed tree fragments is really stupid. Okay? And here's why. In Elden Ring, you gotta explore. That's true. And if you explore, you'll find a bunch of items. You'll find optional dungeons. You'll find all that stuff. But in general, in Elden Ring, the goal is to find your path from one legacy dungeon to the next major legacy dungeon. And then complete the legacy dungeons to advance the story. Correct? Like, that's really what you're doing. You could explore if you want, and that's your option. You feel like spending an incredible amount of time in this open world and looking around every nook and cranny and going around every corner and going to every optional dungeon. You could do that. You could skip it all and just rush right to the next part. Or you could do a hybrid where you sometimes explore, sometimes you don't. For my first run, I almost did everything. I did near the end of the game skip a lot of the optional dungeons because I was just tired of them at that point. And basically, I did find that near the last third of the game had kind of fizzled out for me. You know, I do think that all the legacy stuff at the end of the game is great, but the open world, that whole frozen area, is not very interesting at all. It's too reused and just repetitive, okay? So, when I go into this DLC, hoping for something fresh and new, actually, it's the opposite. Now, you are forced, against your will, to have to fully explore the open world. Why? Because you have to find these upgrade items. If you don't, you're going to end up feeling way unprepared and underleveled for these boss fights. It's not the dungeon. The dungeon was fine. I got right through that first dungeon, no problem. Got to the boss. Okay, here we go. Wow, he just squishes me. It's the equivalent of a big thumb coming down to squishing an ant when you get hit. Like, well, obviously that's not the intention. They don't want you to just instantly die to the boss. So either my spec is terrible, correct? Or I need to find these upgrade items. I truly feel that any build will work in the DLC. The problem is some people are going to have harder time with it. For example, my build is a magic build. That means I did not specify in pumping my health at all. I didn't. My health is not sky high in this playthrough. So for me, everything's going to like smash me. But generally, in the regular run, my magic's so powerful, it's a trade-off. I also do massive damage to the enemies and bosses. So as long as I'm dodging a bit and I get around their attacks, I can kill them. In this case, I don't think that's possible at all. Like, I'm taking so much damage from regular enemies and bosses, right? that if I find a boss that has a big well of health, like the Dancing Lion boss, I just can't beat it that way anymore. Even trying to learn its pattern, dodging, counter hitting it a bunch of times. I mean, I froze the goddamn boss. He was completely frosted from head to toe. He went into form 2 and just insta-killed me again, even though I had full health. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? You know, I'm going to sit here for 5 hours, memorize every attack. That's dumb. So, yeah, basically, for me, I don't like that if you want to get all these upgrade items, you have to fully explore the open world. Previously, it was just play the game. Just kill enemies. Just kill a boss. Just do whatever. Get the runes, level up, you're good. Now, the runes are all but useless. They barely do anything. You're already at level 150 or higher when you're starting this DLC, likely. So getting another level is negligible. You've already got the diminished returns. You're not going to get any big stat boosts. You really have to go look for these upgrade items. And they're everywhere. It would be one thing if they were apparent where they were. They glow, and you could see them actively. Or on the map, they tell you where they are, so you just go and get them. Instead, they are just littered everywhere. Sometimes there'll be a random dude holding a freaking pot above his head that has, like, tinkle sparkles on it. And if you kill him, you might get one of the items. Okay? Sometimes there's a statue with one of the items just sitting in front of it. But the thing is, sometimes you can't see the statues because of the way they set up the open world. Sometimes the item is blocked from view, so you don't know there's an item in front of the statue, so you miss it. Sometimes they've just been randomly in the middle of nowhere, just sitting there. So they're everywhere, and I understand, oh, well, we want you to explore, all right? Fair enough. But not everyone wants to explore every single nook and cranny of your universe because they don't find the open world that appealing. I'll be honest, I felt like the open world was the weakest part of Elden Ring. I loved the legacy dungeons. I loved the bosses. I loved the different builds you could do. I didn't like the open world. And that's what they're forcing you to do now in this DLC. So you took a game that was very versatile, and in the DLC, you made it way less versatile because you want it to be played a certain way. I don't like that. I like having more choice, more control, and they're basically taking that control away from me with this DLC the way they've laid it out. So honestly, if I want to continue with Magic Build, I have to waste time. And yes, I'm gonna call it that. I have to waste time. All right, exploring this open world and getting all the upgrade items. Do I want to do that before I can even fight the first major boss? That's kind of dumb. I'm gonna end up unlocking the whole map before I even fight the first boss or kill the first boss. So, that being said, all right, last night I thought about what I wanted to do. Like, what do I want to do here? Do I want to continue on with my Magic build and have these problems? Do I want to change it up? You know, here's the thing. As I've told you guys, I already told you I was intending to respec, but I wanted to find a weapon that I liked that I was worth respecking for, right? So, I'm looking into everything, and I'm like, what do I want to do? I don't know if this boss I'm fighting right now, the Death Knight, drops the axes. I kind of like the axes. So if he drops the axes, maybe I would use those. Maybe I would respec to use the axes, and that would be my first respec of this DLC. And if that's the case, I guarantee you it's probably like a strength and faith build, because I think he uses lightning magic too. So it's probably a dual build, and I would probably check that out. And I would definitely up the vigor. So that way I have way more of a health pool, and I won't die to one hit from these bosses, okay? Now that's going to be very different. Instead of me doing either ranged hit and run, or charging up this magic sword and just wailing away trying to freeze them, instead, my game plan is going to change. It's going to be more like dodging around and then trying to find, opportunities to do big attacks and stuff with these axes or whatever. Outside of that, all right, I don't know what else I want to do with any of the other weapons. Like, I don't particularly think any of the weapons that I found yet are ones that I really like that much. Like, a lot of people have been saying the solitary sword, sword of solitude sword, whatever it's called. A lot of people are saying that's good, and I'm like, well, I could definitely see it, but I don't know if I want to use it. I've already used great swords in my first run 2 years ago. I kind of don't want to redo that. You know what I mean? I would rather do something different. Now, also, something in my eyes here. some people have said, because I'm reading comments and everything, right, that actually in this DLC, what people are finding the best build to be is a sword and shield. Reason being, because every enemy hits so hard, you want the shield for damage negation. That way you can figure out what they're doing when they attack. That way you can see the animations. Like, a major problem with the dancing lion, you try to see what he's doing, but he's constantly moving towards the camera. When he does, the camera kind of gets lost and doesn't really show what's going on. So I can't really see the attack animations. I just keep seeing his body push into the camera. So was that a bite? Was that a double bite? Was that a bite and then a swoop? Was he spinning? Was he spitting? I can't tell because half the time the camera's kind of going wonky on me, right? And since in this build, I take so much damage, I have to dodge constantly. If I had a build where I could tank it, right, where I could block, then at least I could go in there a few times and just watch, just observe what he's doing and figure out where the hitboxes are because I have the shield. I can see when it's hitting the shield. Like I said, that's the hit. That's the hit. So now I know when to block. I know when to dodge. You know, I haven't been able to learn that yet because the magic build doesn't allow you to do that. Okay? So perhaps that's the way to go. Maybe doing a more tanky build with a big shield and a big sword and doing it that way, you know? But the way I see it, I don't think my build's going to really work moving forward. And I'll be honest, I used the magic build for an entire run, right? The Moonlight Sword I used for the entire final third of my playthrough, my second playthrough. I feel like it's time to retire the magic build and do something different, right? Especially because it seems to me some things in this DLC the magic works against, but others it's completely worthless. Like that dragon, they built that dragon to say no magic. So I need to have something else going on that's maybe more generic, not as specified as the magic build, so that way I can actually kill everything. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm probably not going to continue with magic build. I think what we'll do is we'll kill this boss, this Dragon Knight boss that we're fighting now. See what he drops. Because I don't know what he's going to drop. By the way, the schedule is wrong, and I will update that in a minute, okay? Yeah, see what he drops. And then, based on that, decide to go respec. And what I respec will be dependent on, we'll look at some of the weapons that I've gotten. Like, the Beast Claws, I actually like the idea of using the Beast Claws. I just don't see it as viable against bosses. I feel like that's going to be a class that's just not good against bosses because you have to hit so many times to get the combo going and to get the bleed going. So I don't know if it will work. Maybe it would. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's crazy good and you just move so fast that you're like dodging everything. I don't know. But I feel like it would only be good in certain situations. So I think we're going to respec today. What we're going to do, I don't know yet. But I think it makes sense. And then today would be basically kind of relearning my moveset in the game, playing differently. Likely, depending on the set, I probably won't be using as many magic flash. I'll probably go to having a lot more healing, which would be good. Right now I have 9 healing flash, but I could have up to what, like 14. So obviously I could do something like that. I think it just makes sense that now is the time to do it that way. Plus, I'll be honest, I am getting bored of the magic build. Like at first it was good because it was versatility, but now I'm just getting to the point where it's like, well, everything's kind of the same. I'm kind of getting bored now. I want to do something different. But I think it's time. I think it's time to mix it up and change it up. So today will be that day, but we got to beat this Dragon Knight boss first and see what happens once he's done. Then we go from there. Okay? So that's the plan. As of today, my nose is bothering me. But I can get my flask to plus 12. Yeah, I don't know what my flask is. I have no clue what my flask actually is. In my second run of Elden Ring, I wasn't as thorough as in my first run, looking for every single item or anything. I kind of ran through a bunch of areas. So I very well could have missed a bunch of the items. I don't know how to get the flask leveled up all the way. So, anyway, that's what we're doing today. Dragon Knight, and then do a respec. We'll do it together. We'll figure it out. Whether it's the Beast Claws, whether it's the Sword of Solitude, whether it's something else, I don't know. We'll have to look at the weapons I have, make a decision, and go from there and try it out, okay? And then we'll continue with what we're doing, obviously. I don't know if we're going to jump right back to the Dancing Lion boss or if I should continue to explore. I mean, we went across the bridge, and now we're exploring that area. maybe it makes more sense to keep looking around that area and trying out my new build in that area and see what I think. Look for more upgrade items. Oh, by the way, I missed a critical thing. There is a Point of Grace with 2 NPCs and one of those stakes of Mikola, whatever it's called, the signs, right outside the main gates to go west to get to the Legacy Dungeon. I missed it because I was hugging the wall. It's very important to go there because it starts a quest line. The reason I know this is because last night my wife and I watched another content creator play for about 2 hours. So I'm way behind where I am. No spoilers, but he found this Point of Grace. He starts talking to them. They're like, oh yeah, so you're going to find an NPC that's going to give you a map that's going to show you where all of these stakes are. I was like, what? I need that. I need that. I need to find that. I didn't even know that existed. And there's a Sudafed upgrade item there that I missed. Like, son of a bitch. So how the hell did I just miss that? So I got to go back and get that for sure. But then once we're done with that, you know, fair game to do whatever I want. Open world exploration, go back, fight the dragon boss, or the I should say, lion boss, or whatever. Okay? So, all right. Well, good stuff. That's the plan for today. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. My allergies have been bothering me lately. You see my eyes are burning today. I had to blow my nose. Like, oh, I hate having allergies, and they're in full swing right now. We just hit summer here in the United States. Holland is at a huge high count outside, and with the air conditioner on all day. Ugh. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, so that's the plan for today. I hope that you will stick around if you're here live on stream for this podcast to watch. Hopefully, I will make some good progress today. And we're changing it up. No more magic build. I've had enough with the magic for now. I want to do different stuff. So we'll see how it goes today, right? We will. We'll see how it goes and go from there. And I'm excited to see the difference and what happens if we respec and try something new, okay? You know, I just realized I do have that other sword, that big saber thing. And that one is the one, its ability, you plunge it into the ground and the horns come out of the ground. I wonder if that's any good. I think that's a faith build. I wonder if that's any good at all. Anyway, so that's today. So we'll see what happens today. Thankfully, after today's major stream of Elden Ring, we get a break with Stardew Valley tonight, React Day tomorrow, but then we got 2 more major streams of it, Monday and Tuesday, and keep in mind, it continues as the major featured stream for a while. It will be balanced here and there with Street Fighter 6, perhaps. We'll see. Because I think what I'll do is I'll maybe alternate night streams between Stardew Valley and Fallout 4, and then have day streams be either Elden Ring DLC or Street Fighter 6, Bison, or otherwise, and go from there. So, let's see how it goes. I'm excited for the respec today, and I'm excited. I hope you guys will stick around. And I certainly hope that you guys will support the Elden Ring stuff as well. And what I mean by that is, yesterday the daytime stream was well supported. One person did an insanely huge tip, and then others kind of jumped on, and it ended up being a really successful first stream, which was great. The late stream, already things slowed down, and quite honestly, that late night stream of Elden Ring last night actually did worse than if I had done a Friday Night Fights. That didn't matter because I had a good daytime stream. But I think you see the point is when I start to hyper-focus on something too much, then it kind of doesn't feel special. Maybe I shouldn't have done Elden Ring all day yesterday, but I really wanted to get as far in as I could on day one, you know, to get a real formulated opinion on it. And think of it this way, if I hadn't done that, if I'd only done the first stream, I never would have even seen that first major boss and been able to formulate any kind of a opinion, right? So I'm glad I played as much as I did, but at the same time, I feel like already perhaps it's burning out because I played so much of it on the first day. I don't know. Let's see how it goes today. Hopefully you guys will stick around, and please support the streams. Super chats, super stickers, memberships, gifted memberships, and tips are all appreciated. And of course, me being around, or me playing Elden Ring and or super hard games means we have more viewers around. Great day to maybe give some memberships to the community, right? So please consider it. Thank you. Okay, so as I said, that was the majority of what I wanted to talk about today. All right, I so far seem to have one shout out to do. Let me take a quick look. Nope, it's a troll. So just gonna ignore the troll. I knew it. So I have absolutely no contributions to shout out so far today. I think you start to see my point now about Elden Ring. So normally I would do shout outs, but we have nothing to do. So I guess what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open up the Q&A. Let's see what you guys have to say. Personally, what do you guys think about Elden Ring's DLC so far? What are you guys coming across, right, in the DLC if you're playing it yourself? What are your thoughts about my plans today to respec? I want to hear everyone's opinions. So tag me in the chat. Let's get some convo going. Let's see what you have to say about it. Jordan did a super chat and he said, laughing my ass off, Stardew on top. Well, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that. Stardew on top, but okay. Thank you, Jordan. John Imus says, lots of secrets you're missing this playthrough. Well, I've explored the map. I fully went all around exploring. I found some optional dungeons and the like. I don't know what secrets it is that you're referencing that I missed. Crema de Coco thinks the DLC is very good. Abdullah thinks Elden Ring is overhyped garbage. There you go. Between strength and dex, which do I prefer? Probably strength. As you saw in my first run, I was using giant swords and just smashing things with them. Dimitri says, I'm happy you're considering the another build. Oh, I'm not considering it. I'm absolutely doing it. Maximum Turbo says, FromSoft has gotten into the habit of just making bosses fast and kill you with 1 to 2 hits. It would actually be great to see something challenging rather than annoying. Excuse me. Cypress TV says, it's tough if you don't know a full day of any particular game will be successful unless, of course, you do it. Some games are successful no matter when you play, and others will struggle. Correct. Crema de Coco says, the map is massive as fuck. FromSoft DLCs are always harder than the base game. Well, hey, I learned that from the Bloodborne DLC. Remember that? No, really, the way I see it, right, is it's kind of like what happened to me in Dark Souls 2. In Dark Souls 2, I used Dick Lightning, the freaking crazy lightning bolt magic, lightning spear, the entire playthrough. It carried me the whole playthrough, right? I mean, the ending was trivialized. Then when the DLC came out, they completely nerfed it. So it didn't work anymore, and I had to respec and learn the game over for the DLCs. I feel like that's what's happened here. Like, magic build is good for the base game when magic staggers, which it hasn't staggered at all. If you haven't noticed, I haven't staggered a single enemy with magic yet. They just, like, act like you're not hitting them. They all tank it. They don't, apparently, even the rock sling isn't building up stagger at all in this DLC. So, it seems like they definitely nerfed it. You can still use it, but it just makes it so much harder for you. So, I really feel like I just need to respec into something different because it's not working. They've changed the game again. You know what I'm saying? Traps thinks that this new leveling system is terrible. It trivializes your normal base levels to the point where I don't even care about runes if I lose them. Yeah, same with me. Like, I started thinking, even if I lose the runes, it doesn't matter. All I was going to do is get another level, and the levels aren't helping anymore anyway, so who gives a shit about the runes? Right? Like, you don't even care about collecting them anymore. Ryu and Suiko, it's very hard to pronounce your name, by the way, says, would you consider respecking into something you haven't done before? Maybe dagger, short, medium sword, maybe a bludgeoning weapon? Maybe, if it's something viable. I'm seriously considering those claws. I think those claws look badass, and the idea that they build bleed is cool, but I need to figure out a build that'll work with, you know? Cypress TV says, I really like the Dark Souls 3 DLCs. The best of all from Software, but Dark Souls 2 also had great DLCs. Ugh. You remember how hard Ring City was? Not that hard. For me, Ring City actually was not that hard. If you remember, a lot of people complained about Ring City, that being too difficult. I actually didn't think it was that tough at all. I actually went through it not with that much problem. I think one of the bosses gave me a problem. I'm trying to remember which one. but I didn't really think it was that tough. I actually really liked it because it tied to Dark Souls 2. See, I want to use the claws, but my concern is the claws work on everything. Then I get to a boss, they don't do shit. That's my concern. Then I go to try to fight this lion, and I try to start hitting him, and I can't because he's tanky. He's not going to stagger when I start hitting him. So I hit him twice, and then that's it. I can never do a combo to build up bleed, so it never works, right? Jade says he's also suffering from his allergies too. He knows what it's like. Yeah, it stinks. Can you move fast when using the Wolverine claws? Yeah, I think that's the point. I think the whole point of that build is that you're incredibly fast moving and zipping around because there's two different special attacks, the R2 and then the charge L2, and each one is like a combo, an auto combo where he just goes slashing back and forth like this basically, and he's like darting around as he does it. And I think with the L2 he actually jumps too, like he's jumping and attacking. And again, the whole point is that'll work if the boss isn't tanking it out and knocking you out of your combo and doing 90% damage. You see what I'm saying? So that's a problem. There you go. Nick says dexterity weapons are going to be hard. A lot of enemies tank hits and are aggressive and won't be able to combo enough to cause the buildup. That's my concern. That's like genuine concern. If you need to hit a ton to get the buildup to work, how are you going to finish? And how are you ever going to have it be effective? Gabian says, just so you know how it works, each Skadu blessing level, so it's supposed to be shadow, so Skadu. You're supposed to say it like shadow. So shadow, Skadu. See, it's supposed to sound exactly the same, but it really doesn't. So each Skadu blessing level increases your stats by 5%. There's 20 blessing levels total. You could be 100% stronger by the end. Wow. I have never purchased a special edition console before, not on purpose anyway. There was once when I needed a spare Dreamcast, and the only one I could find on eBay was the sports edition that came bundled with a sports game, so that's the one I bought. But outside of that, I have never purposefully bought a special edition console tied into any game, no. Cyber CVs had a lot of people saying they should have got away from the open world element. I think they didn't want to stray from the Elden Ring formula. I personally prefer the legacy dungeons. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It's too samey. It feels like they didn't try to innovate or do anything different so far. I'm 5.5 hours in, and it feels to me like it's just Elden Ring again with the same shortcomings, the same boringness of the open world. There's nothing in it. I'm going around. Where the fuck is all the content? They claimed this was going to be a more condensed, packed DLC, and I'm riding around and I see a bunch of ghost gravestones and fucking sheep rolling around. Where the fuck is the content? And then I gotta find it. I gotta work to find it, right? What is going on? Trap says, I think the boss combo strings have gotten way too long. You dodge for 30 seconds to get a small window to deal damage. Not dragon, excuse me. This dancing lion, right? He has one attack where he goes back like this and he charges forward and he's open for several seconds after. Literally every other attack he has is a hit string. So it's kind of like attack, second attack, then he has an option to do a third rising attack, and if he's a real dick, he'll start spinning and spinning everywhere. And you're right, that's a good, like, 15 plus seconds of straight attacks that you have to know how to avoid before you can even think about healing or hitting. So it becomes a dance. Rather than a fight, it becomes more of a dance. And I don't necessarily know if that works. For some builds, probably yes, and others no. It ain't working for Magic build, that's for sure. And again, I'm not saying I don't like the DLC. I do. I had a lot of fun in the Legacy Dungeon. I actually had a lot of fun in the Belarus Jail, right? Some of the bosses have been fun, but I do feel like there's some things that are missteps here. Do I think reviewers are too scared to criticize the DLC because of possible backlash? Reviewers are pussies. Reviewers will roll with whatever to make sure that they're in line with popularity. Keep in mind, Elden Ring was the best-selling FromSoft game of all time. You now have insanely popular viral streamers who are playing this game, and now a whole new audience is being exposed to it who love it. And if you're going to say, oh, I don't like it, you know, Eurogamer said it was too hard and actually gave it a 3 out of 5, and everyone ripped Eurogamer a new asshole. Is it too hard? I don't think it's too hard. I just think they made it so definitely certain strategies are way harder to work, like Magic Build, and I do think that it's a lot of time sink and consuming your time to explore the open world, even if you don't want to get these upgrades. Is that too hard? No, like, for example, I don't think the Dancing Lion is like, oh my god, it's insanely broken fight. I don't think so. I just don't want to die in one hit. I just don't want to die in one hit so I could fight it. That's all. That's all I ask. Oh, let's see here. I received a $4.20 tip from NPC. I had trouble taking down the walking fire giant in the gravestone field. Watching you helped a ton, so thanks. You're welcome. That one was easy to me. That's just a horse fight, you know, and being, you know, being endurance, basically not giving up and just being solid and not getting hit by the flame. It's pretty easy once you figure out the basics of it. So no big deal there. And of course, there's going to be way more of those. You see them out in the distance, that they're all throughout the map. So you know you're going to have to fight that thing again and again. Thank you to NPC for a $4.20 tip. Yes, my vigor is bad. I know, because I'm a magic build. My vigor has not been a concern, so it's pretty bad. I agree. Sarah says, you ever enjoy just following the popular or common consensus so you don't get a negative backlash? No, I just do what I'm honest about. I'm going to be honest forever. I'm not going to change. I'm 42 years old, 16-year YouTuber. I'm never going to change at this point. You know, I'm never going to become a butt kisser. I'm not going to be the guy who praises a game or says, oh, I can't say anything negative because I'm under an NDA. I would never want to do that. You know, I'm known for the opposite. So, yeah, no, I'm never going to change to be like that. What was my favorite Legacy dungeon in the main game? You know, thinking back, I liked a lot of the Legacy dungeons in the main game. I would say the Illyrian magic school was really fun. I liked how it was designed. Nice looking, but also some cool secrets and things in there. I liked the optional magic dungeon in the upper left-hand corner of the map, the castle. I can't remember what it was called, but I like that too. I definitely liked Volcano Manor. And that dungeon with the lava and everything is pretty neat. I definitely like the Golden City, right? The main capital city. That was really fun. And definitely, what is the floating city called? Whatever the floating city is called. I've forgotten what it's called at this point. I've had a brain fart. The floating city is super cool, too. So, I can't remember, but I love that, too. So, and that's just a few. Like, other ones are good. Like, Hailing Tree. Yeah, Hailing Tree's good. Like, I don't think there's a legacy dungeon in Elden Ring that's bad. It's just there's levels of how cool and creative they were and how much more interesting they got, right? Oh, Far Missoula. Yes, Far Missoula. Also, what I really liked was how some of them link together. Like, once you start going into the well, and then you realize, oh my god, the Ansel River is connected to this one, and all this was all a view that you could see from different levels of this dungeon all along, and it was really neat in that regard. Like, again, that's what they excel at. When you're doing that content, that's like, dude, this is like the best in class that you can get, right? It is like best in class gameplay when you're doing that cool legacy dungeon stuff. That's what I want more of. I don't need more boring open world. You want to know the truth? It's probably easy for them to make the open world. It's so much reused content, reused assets. It's not a big deal. The legacy dungeons are probably tougher to design. So they shovel in a lot of the open world shit because it's easier to pump out. It sucks. I want more legacy dungeons. I hope there's a lot. By the way, if you guys, does anyone know actually how many legacy dungeons are in the DLC? I've only seen the one, and I saw that jail, which I don't even know if it's considered one or not. I hope there's a bunch, because right now I want more legacy dungeon content, and I gotta find it. Cybers TV says, what if they eliminated the open world and separate dungeons similar to Dark Souls 1? Would you prefer that? I mean, dude, in reality, this is Dark Souls 4. Look, I already said this. When Elden Ring came out, I said, you're playing Dark Souls 4. You realize that, right? It's literally Dark Souls 4 with an open world that requires some jumping and parkour. But it's Dark Souls 4. It's the same game. It is. Sorry, it is. You can't even argue that. It's just they wanted to make Dark Souls 4, but they already said they weren't going to make any more Dark Souls games. So their excuse that it's a new franchise is, oh, there's an open world where you can now jump. But it's Dark Souls 4. It was the evolution that they definitely wanted for the franchise. I think they should have just been like, yeah, it's Dark Souls 4. And I think it would have been better. But then, you know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely, I want more of that Dark Souls feel. And I think that a lot of it gets watered down by this boring open world. So there's 10 dungeon-specific bosses, 11 core main bosses. There's a lot more dungeons to go. Cool. This is going to take a long time then. We'll be doing this for weeks, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with playing the Elden Ring DLC like all July. If that's what it takes, I'm fine with that. Oh, I have a question. I have a question, guys. And this is really important for you guys. What do you think about the visual quality of the stream and the videos? That's actually a very important question I forgot to ask yesterday. With this new setup now, me with this new capture device, me playing high refresh rate VRR, me at the higher bit rate, what did you think of the quality of what you saw? Because I was watching the videos back, and I was like, wow, that is a humongous improvement. As you might notice, there is absolutely no motion blur at all anymore. There used to be motion blur when I would move. You'd see pixelization and shit. I'm not seeing it at all anymore. And it looks crispy, like very crisp and clear to me, 1080p. So I'm very pleased with those upgrades. I'm like, this is excellent. Like, let me put it this way. I'm looking at my videos and I'm comparing to someone who's playing the game on a high-end gaming PC. They look exactly the same. They look the same to me. Like, I'm not even seeing any difference. And I'm like, holy shit, this is excellent. And my setup to be on par with top setups is fucking crazy. Because I've always been behind the ball in that regard, as you guys know. And now it seems like I've caught up, which is excellent. But I do have some possibly bad news, all right? Someone said that what they did is they took their computer and their processor and they downclocked it to essentially run at the same speeds as my wife's PC, okay? And they ran a test to see could they encode 1440p video, and it failed the test. It basically got choppy. So they're afraid that even with me migrating from my current PC to my wife's PC, either in late July, early August, I'm not going to be able to do an increase in resolution. It's going to be stuck at 1080p. I won't know till I test, but they tested and said it didn't work. So Sarah says you're on level footing now with high-end streamers. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm looking at people who only like play on PC, and I'm comparing my footage with them, and it looks the same. Same thing with Street Fighter. This whole year that I was playing Street Fighter 6, I would record and upload, and my footage would be okay, but then I would watch other videos of archive fights, and they would look amazing. Now I'm watching my own videos back, comparing with the archive footage from pro players, and it all looks the same. And I'm like, yes, I'm so happy. Like, finally, I've gotten there. It took a long time, but I've gotten there, right? Darren, I hear what you're saying. He's saying some of us are having Souls burnout, but you have to understand that this is all that's been going on. You know, I needed to finish the second run in time for this so that I could even play it. I had to get to the Moog altar, right? So I had to do the second run. And Another Crab's Treasure, quite frankly, is probably the one other game this year that was quite good. So even though I understand you might say, oh, it's too much Souls, actually, this has been the best content I feel like I've been doing besides maybe Street Fighter 6, you know? So, it is what it is. I understand if you're burned out, but hey, I mean, this is all that we're doing right now. It's all that's out. This is the biggest release of the year. Everything else has fizzled out and been disappointing or boring. Excuse me. Why couldn't I have played the DLC on my first character? Because I restarted the game by accident. When I beat the game the first time, I accidentally immediately restarted and started from the beginning. So I didn't have that anymore. I basically screwed myself. I didn't realize it when I beat it, but I was accidentally selected start over, and it deleted my first run, essentially. So, yeah, I was screwed. That's why I did a whole second run to get back up to that Moog altar point. That first run is gone. Doesn't exist. See, here's the thing. If you think of Another Crab's Treasure, and by the way, by no means am I saying that Another Crab's Treasure is better than what it's trying to imitate, but Another Crab's Treasure does have an open world part. That's the central hub of the ocean floor. And off of that are different areas and dungeons and things like that. But the open world doesn't overstay its welcome. A lot of it is very optional, right? Like, it's not like, oh, here, go explore this world, and you have to for like fucking hours on end. You could just go right to where you want to go. So, I don't know. I actually feel like Another Crab's Treasure did a good balance of it. Of, here's an open world, explore it when you want. You don't have to. You can go back later and do more of it. A la Zelda, like when you get a new ability. I kind of like how they did it. Oh, let's see here. I received a $1 anonymous tip from what I played so far. I've only found 4 of the legacy dungeons, but there is tons of open world. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, we'll see as we continue. We'll see what happens as we continue. Oy, oy, oy. Someone has asked in chat, how do I prefer if someone's going to contribute? That is your prerogative. I'm not here to talk to you and tell you how you want to contribute or whatever. If you want to contribute, thank you so much for supporting. Anything is appreciated. Super chat, super sticker, gifted memberships, regular memberships, tips, all appreciated. You know, my goal each stream is to hit 50 bucks in tips. That's my goal. If I hit it, great. If I don't, it's not the end of the world. But that's the general rule of thumb, is to try to hit 50 bucks in tips for a whole stream. So we're not there yet, obviously. So maybe that, but that's up to you. That's your prerogative, okay? No, I'm not playing Lords of the Fallen. I'm not playing that game. I had no interest in it to begin with. I really didn't. I looked at it, I was like, the fucking first one sucked ass. It took them so long to fix it. It was a piece of shit. I didn't want to play the second one. I'm glad I didn't. I feel like it would have been a waste of time. I played the better Souls-likes. I played Lies of P. I played Another Crab's Treasure. I skipped the filler crap one. And I'm happy that I did. Oh, God. Thymesia. That game was terrible. I saw someone play it. It was so repetitive and boring. Oh, my God. And what was the other one, too? With the fucking robot androids? Like, the fucking... It's like an android housekeeper, but then she becomes a fighter. She's fighting a robot. It's so generic and repetitive. Like, the game's these other Souls-likes are terrible, man. It's not inspired at all. Steel Rising, is that what it was called? Oh, the Jetsons. Oh no, the Jetsons Souls-like is actually quite good. The Spacely Sprockets boss fight. Oh man, crazy. Wow. They should just, since they're making so many Souls-like, they may as well just fucking do the stupidest one, right? They should do a SpongeBob Souls-like, a fucking, you know what I'm saying? What? Make a Rugrats Souls-like. Go for it. Why not? Because at this point, you made so many of them, you might as well just jump the shark and do every possible stupid thing, right? Cypress TV said if you played Lords of the Fallen, it would have ended up like another Wolong situation. I believe you. I totally believe you. Man, Wolong stunk. Are Souls games roguelikes? No, I don't think so. The whole idea of a roguelike is that you have to do everything in one run, right? You do slowly, incrementally get better because you get to retain certain things from each run, right? But there's an element of randomness in your builds and things that's not present in Dark Souls-like games, right? Like, in Dark Souls, it's very intentional what you're doing. If you go into a dungeon in Dark Souls, you have a build. You're using the build to succeed. It's not like you don't know what you're going to find in the dungeon that you can use, and in one run, you're using ice element and slashing, and in the next run, you're using a giant hammer that shoots lightning, but that's just because you found it there, right? You're using a build you intend to build skillfully and intentionally. As opposed to roguelikes, you don't know what you're going to get. And by the way, when you die, you got to start the whole run over. Dark Souls has checkpoints, right? Flintstone Souls. Most enemies are dinosaurs and other cavemen. You could summon Barney Rubble as your partner. There you go. And they should get John Goodman to voice the character. Now, that would be a sick game. If they got Rick Moranis to voice fucking Barney, that would be insane. They'll never do that, though. The Wizard of Oz Lies of P next game will be amazing. Yeah, they've already announced that Lies of P did so well, they are absolutely making more content. They haven't said fully if it's going to be a DLC expansion or if it's going to be the sequel, but they already greenlit it and are working on it, so that's excellent because I loved Lies of P. Sesame Street Souls, now that would be sick. Oscar the Grouch boss. He finally opens the can and comes out, and he's a giant tentacled monster with claws and shit. He's like, I've been in the can the whole time, kids. Oh my god. There you go. Cookie Monster loses his mind. He gets rage. He gets like carnal rage. He just can't stop. He has to eat everything. He just eats everything around him. He eats people. He eats the other Muppets. There you go. Very nice. All right. Well, guys, unless anyone has anything else that they would like to discuss, I feel like we should end the podcast now. Try to get a little bit of extra gameplay in, because I want to beat this Dragon Knight boss to see what he drops, and then judge from there what the respec will be. And thank you to those who are chilling and anyone who supported so far. And think you want to do it? Want to just get over there? I think it makes sense to wrap this up and get to it. I hope he drops the axes. I'd like to try them, but I don't think he's going to. Because I want him to, he won't. By the way, Soul Psych Records did a super chat. So speaking of Souls likes, well, Soul Psych likes Phil. Well, thank you to Soul Psych Records for that super chat. I can't update the leaderboard right now because I'm on a different screen. But, all right. Thank you all. Please stick around. And hang out with me for Elden Ring DLC today. And thanks for all your input. A lot of people, idiots out there say, aha, Phil hates the DLC, he's going to quit it. I don't hate the DLC, and I'm not going to quit it. Neither of those things were said, but that's what moronic drama queen bitches do. They just make shit up because they're drama queen bitches. They have nothing better to do but try to make money off of that. Well, it's not, none of it's true. So, I can't wait to continue today. Thank you all, and see you tomorrow when I'll tell you how it all went.